Hello. Welcome guys back to the channel. Maverick here, and it is Monday again, so that means another episode of Monogatari. Made a slight mistake last episode. This one should be the final episode of this specific arc. I think I kind of got it mixed up to 4 episodes because the previous arc, Nekomonogatari Kuro, had only 4 episodes, and since this one was Shiro, I thought it would be similar as well. But no, it's fine. But in this one, this is definitely the last one. Also, at the end of last episode, it seems that Hanekawa is making her final preparations to face the tiger, right? And indeed, through the dialogue that she's carrying on, it seems that she's not expecting herself to be long for this world. My interpretation of this is that she's going to let her inner self out, right? Black Hanekawa, which is a sort of Hanekawa, but not really quite her. It's suppressed within her subconsciousness. What I think is going to happen is she's actually going to bring it back to the surface. She's not going to run away from this anymore and own up to it as being part of her. However, would that fundamentally change her character in a way that you could say she's not Hanekawa anymore, right? At least that's the interpretation I'm going with from the last episode. It's like figuratively killing herself because, you know, if your personality changes, are you the same person? Right? That's a pretty interesting question there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm also expecting Araki to at least make a little cameo appearance at the very end of this episode. You know, just to let us know that things are going to go back to normal. We're going to see Araki again. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Yeah, if she's expecting herself to die, obviously, Black Hanekawa can't exist as well, right? Saying this to someone for the first time, but that's actually still yourself. I mean, so I guess in the end, she's still not asking anybody else for help? Definitely with the way that she's writing this, it feels like she still doesn't consider Black Hanekawa an integral part of her, right? Like 2 separate selves. Nekomonogatari. Shiro. So, since there's a Hanekawa and a Black Hanekawa, and the last arc was Kuro, which means black, right? And this arc is Shiro, which means white. So I guess the normal Hanekawa is the white Hanekawa? Is that how we're supposed to interpret this situation? Well, actually considering that, and looking at the opening right now with the cat ears and all that, and being white, I think that is what we're supposed to get from this. Eh. I mean, I am expecting her to actually own up to the negativity within her. This BGM is quite interesting. What? Why do I feel like... Sorry, I know this is a pretty important monologue right now, but I'm getting really distracted by the BGM. It's... I feel like I've heard it somewhere before. Her whiteness. Right, so this is essentially saying that she's also going to own up to the black portions of her heart as well, right? So sweet. Alright, what are you gonna do? You're right. So they're really going with the family route now. Elder sister, middle sister, younger sister. This is so funny in a way. So I guess one of the scary things about Hanekawa at this point is sort of like how she can create all these different new aberrations from her heart. That's Senjugahara's house, right? So, stress versus envy. Which one's gonna win? Ooh, that's a burn. Moe. Is that is that a pun there? Moe as in burn and moe as in cute? Emo. Oh, back it. If I were to guess what would happen, probably another aberration would appear. Yeah. Right. Confronting herself. Yeah. Is it really gonna be that easy? I guess we could. Even though in this series, this is there's supernatural stuff and things going on, battles going on and whatnot. I guess you could sort of consider this a like an internal conflict of some sorts, like within her own heart. So she's trying to drain the tiger's energy, right? Ooh? What? Why are you here all of a sudden? Alright. Damn. Now, heroes always gotta show up at the last moment, right? Yeah. Wouldn't it would turn into an action anime? Oh, he actually went back first. Yeah, I think I get from the flashing text. Right, so pretty much as I thought. Because her personality is going to have slight change. But of course, Ariga's not gonna care. You're just gonna let her fall in love with you even more. Ah. Ah. Oh, you're going to confess her feelings? Yeah. There we go. What's he gonna say? Sorry, I have someone I love. Yeah. How long has it been since she's cried? And your hair turned into that? Wow. Every morning? And you're gonna have like a normal relationship with your parents. Mm. She's gonna have a normal life now. The thing that she's always wanted. Huh. Oh man. Holy shit, I didn't think of that at all. Huh. Alrighty. I mean, sorry, tadaima, and then, okay. Yeah. Damn. That was a great ending to the arc, actually. Um, alright. I think all the rest is just the ending song and a preview for the next episode, so I'll see you guys in just a second. Well, guys, I gotta admit here, I actually did kind of tear up during the confession scene. You know, for those of you guys who have been watching my series for a long time now, you should know that I am more of a stoic person when it comes to emotional scenes. I think I say that often, a lot, but it's really just to try to convince people that I'm not just a robot with no emotions, right? But really, I feel like it's not a case. It's definitely not a case. I do have emotions, obviously, but I think I'm even more affected by scenes such as this one. You know, it's these kinds of scenes that gets me. It's not the over-the-top ones. It's not the overly dramatical. It's not the life or death situations, but more something like this, right? It's, you know, the people here, Aragi and Hanekawa, were actually calm throughout the entire situation. Hanekawa wasn't like shouting "I love you," you know, that kind of thing, right? It was really plain and calm. It was like, Aragi, I love you, or I love you, Aragi, or whatever you want to say. You know, very calm, very collected, just simply stating it out. Aragi also simply responded, uh, I'm very happy that you feel this way, but I can't reciprocate your feelings. And then, no, that's the end of that, right? It's not like people getting all worked up and whatnot. Sure, Hanekawa teared up and started bawling her eyes out at the end, but I feel like this kind of interaction actually makes these scenes even more powerful for me. And then you also put that with the entire sort of background of that scene, the lighting, right? It's heading towards a new day, a new dawn. The sort of contrast between Hanekawa's feelings, you know, you think of all that, you know, her love for Aragi is so heavy that it even manifested itself into these aberrations, right? And yet, you know, just being rejected so lightly, just like that. And then you contrast that with the situation where she's been holding all her feelings, not just for Araki, but, you know, her feelings, suppressing all these feelings for this long time, and now she's finally getting it back and allowing her feelings to flow out, right? That was just such a well done scene. That's really all I can say about this. It's, you know, definitely 2 thumbs up from me, and probably one of my favorite scenes from the series so far. Not to mention, Aragi was an absolute badass when he came onto the scene, right? To be honest, I actually thought Hanekawa would completely solve the situation by herself, but I guess they needed to have Aragi have this heroic entrance, if you will, and kind of set it up for the confession scene, considering, you know, everything that Aragi said, you know, adding more and more, feeling her heart's passion even more and more, right? Adding more fuel to the fire. Although I think there might be something to be said of just Hanekawa solving the situation on her own as well, and then maybe with Aragi coming in at the very end there. But I guess that would kind of be counterintuitive to what all the others were telling her, you know, rely on others more and whatnot. So I can see why they did this. They eventually went with this kind of setting. It's definitely not gonna help the infatuation that Hanekawa has with Aragi though. So, I guess you could say there's pros and cons for each, for both kinds of methods. And speaking of Hanekawa's situation, so it pretty much went as expected from my prediction in the last episode and the beginning of this one, right? Although I will say that this was a little bit easier to get than some of the other arcs or other stories, if you will. I feel like this one was quite obvious. And her concern was indeed quite obvious as well. Like, am I really still me if I open myself up to all these other different kinds of emotions now? Because all the people around me so far have only seen me as my current self. If I add all these people, all these different versions of myself back to myself, would the old Hanekawa be killed off and now a new Hanekawa is reborn? But it's not quite the Hanekawa that you guys knew before, right? So, it really depends on your own interpretation of the situation, right? If you consider them from a sort of additive perspective, right? You know, we have the original Hanekawa. She simply has some of her negative emotions split up into 2 different parts as well, but you're just adding it back together, right? So you have, it's like 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, but that 1 is still there, if you will. So if you just look at it from that kind of perspective, well, it's still the same Hanekawa we know. The same Hanekawa is still in there. It's just that more things are being added to it. That's one type of way to look at it. Of course, you could also say that these personalities they can't just be split so evenly and so cleanly between them. They are going to have this sort of counter or sort of crossing effect, if you will, and merging effect, and it will eventually shape into an entirely new Hanekawa as well, which I think is much more reasonable in terms of reality and whatnot. But at the same time, how far away from her true self can she change anyways, right? I really highly doubt that we'll see her personality change that much, to be honest, within the context of the series, but who knows? The series might very well prove me wrong. I will also mention another thing in regards to this situation, though, that I find might also explain this a little bit further, right? And the way that I'm looking at these three here, the Hanekawa herself, Black Hanekawa, and then also the tiger, I kind of feel like it sort of falls into Freud's sort of division of the human into the id, the ego, and the superego, right? So again, for just to give a quick rundown, the id is representing your natural desires, right? Your like lust, like hunger. You know, if you were to just do everything to your heart's content and whatnot, that is what the id is controlling, your carnal desires and whatnot. The ego is the one that sorry, I should probably say the superego, right? The superego is your morality, the sense of, you know, I'm not going to do something because I'm better than that. I'm not just going to eat, you know, I'm not going to eat everything that I see. I'm not going to steal everything that I see. I'm not going to go around and you know, have forced sexual relations with every person that I see, because that's not how society works, right? I'm better than that. I'm a civilized human being and whatnot. So that's the superego, and the ego is sort of like the meditator between these two, between fulfilling your wants, your needs, your desires, and then also fulfilling the part where, you know, you're trying to conform to a normal society here. So if we put that back into Hanekawa's situation right now, you could say that her Hanekawa herself, right, for all this time, is sort of like the representation of her superego, right? She's holding up to this this really unrealistic moral standard that nobody can meet, and the reason that she's able to do this is because she's completely suppressing her id and her ego, right? Her id eventually went off and manifested itself into the Neko and the tiger, the cat and the tiger, and then, you know, you could say that through the changes, or through the stories that we had so far, through Aragi's help and all of that, the Neko eventually turned into Black Hanekawa, which I think you could say represents the ego of Hanekawa, right? Represents the sort of meditator between her ideal self, her moralistic super ego self, and versus the sort of primal desires that one has, you know, like such as the manifestation of the tiger. So if we use that kind of you know, Freud's framework, if you will, then again, these three are all part of the same self as well. Your mind is not whole without these three different parts. So I think that might also be a good sort of interpretation of the situation, and really, again, putting back to rest whether or not it's still actually her, right? Because, you know, these three parts are obviously all of the same person, so they are all Hanekawa, basically. Anyways, that was kind of a tangent, but in all that said, we finally are able to see her in a normal light now, and that includes the people within the Monogatari universe as well. They're not going to be freaked out by her anymore or creeped out by her anymore. She's probably going to have a normal or a semi-normal family relation now. Obviously, you have to make up for a lot of lost time and whatnot, and not to mention her family wasn't exactly in the best of conditions in the first place, right? But at least they're not going to be creeped out by her or weirded out by her anymore, and it's going to be sort of her life is going to get back on the right track, right? And I have to say, I really love the sort of callback at the very end there, If you recall, back when Hanekawa was writing that sort of, I guess, confessional letter, if you will, to Black Hanekawa wrote something back. Tadaima, I'm home now. She was also a stray cat. Now she's a pet cat. She's of Hanekawa, in a sense. So, she's found her place. She's found her home. And now finally at the end here, Hanekawa has truly found her home as well. So, Tadaima, I am back. Now, with that being said, I still feel like there's a missing part of that equation, and that is someone saying, "Okaeri, welcome back," right? So, who knows? Maybe that's something that's going to be a subject for another future arc, if you will. And then after all that, I guess one last thing I like to mention is actually the BGM for the background music for this episode, particularly the part right after the opening when Hanekawa was sort of explaining the entire backstory. The song is actually named Soso Fuitsu, which is also what she wrote at the end of her self-confessional letter, which means sincerely, basically. I really love that. It's obviously sort of flamenco guitar inspired. Right, you got that same sort of melody, same sort of chord structure and all that. And not only is it really pleasing to listen to, and then with all the pretty aesthetics on screen as well, but it's also kind of a nice reference there, because when we think of flamenco and the dance or the music and whatnot, we typically associate it with red, we associate it with flames, we associate it with burning passions, which kind of ties back into the tiger as well, right? So I like that little sort of reference there. Even I would venture a guess and say it was probably an intended reference there. But anyways, fantastic end to Hanekawa's backstory. Definitely one of my favorite episodes so far, and it's just a joy to watch, right? So, coming up, we are, I believe, going into the Mayoi's next arc. She said as much in the first episode of this arc, right? So, probably what Aragi was actually doing is going to be reserved for some other time, right? We're probably going to have to sleep on it. It might come back sometime in the future. Or it could be related, but it should be, because my prediction would be that it had something more to do with Kambaru, considering that she specifically called Kambaru, right? But who knows? Who knows? That's part of the fun of continuing to watch on. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one as well. I definitely enjoyed it, and remember to stay tuned for the next episode. So, see you guys, and bye-bye.